Welcome to the High Fae Housewives podcast. I'm Blakely.
And I'm Kylie.
We're currently working towards our Maasters in the Maasverse. Our current course is focused on A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the fourth book of Sarah Janet Maas's ACOTAR series. Today, we are covering the whole last book. You can expect a spoiler-free summary at the top of the episode, and then we'll break it all down with our theories and connect it with the rest of the Maasverse.
We will have spoilers for Crescent City and Throne of Glass. And warning, while we may be your silly gal pals, we don't recommend listening to this podcast around little ears or ears that may be offended because we say bad words and shitty things. Now relax those shoulders, unclench those jaws, clench those clams, and let's get into it. I love that it's a short summary too because the book is so fucking short. Anyways.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Our favorite gang is adjusting to life post-war, and we're introduced to new POVs in this story that tells some of their adjustments and truly helps us get to know them. Feyre's trying to feel normal and live by getting back into her art and buying an art studio. Rhys is off being High Lord and working on peace in the Night Court after some post-war rumblings, and Lucien just wants to be loved by Elaine, but he gives her the ick. Everyone is trying to figure out what to buy one another for winter solstice, the first holiday post-war, and Feyre's birthday. Nesta isn't interested in going because she's being a sulking bitch, but Feyre convinces her to come by withholding her rent unless she shows up. She shows up and everyone has a blasty blast, not to be confused with finger blasts. Except Nesta, who is a bitch, Cassian, who is turned on by that, walks her home after, and they fight, and then she leaves him behind. Back at the townhouse, we find Rhys's mom is the maker of all of Feyre's dresses that she has worn, and she wants a sick new tat from Rhys. Oh, and they are practicing the art of making babies, and we get a window into that sexy session. After banging it out, Rhys told Feyre they're getting a new home to fit the adult Illyrian babies and the fresh one from Feyre. Rhys checks in with Tammy and does him a solid and gets him sentries. Then they have a moment about Rhys's family, and Rhys feeds him a meal. Kind of a mate-coded thing, but okay. As for Moore, she was at her other home that we didn't know she had, and we learned she's a horse gal. Frost and Starlight wraps up with Feyre owning a paint studio and teaching Kiplets art. We won't get too much into Cassian, Nesta, or the Rhys and Nesta relationship of this book, but we'll dive into their dynamics in Silver Flame. Frost and Starlight is very like a Hallmark movie, while the rest of the books are Lifetime movies. To be fair, it is Feyre's Lifetime movie. So her Hallmark movie. Let's start with her. So Feyre makes a friend, one that she saved during the Battle of Velaris with Hybern, Rosina. Febe was already noticing different people in Velaris. I'm looking at you, fairy with skin like glittering onyx and eyes like swirling clusters of stars. But Rosina was a fairy, not a kind I saw too frequently. Her face and body reminded me of the High Fae, though her ears were slenderer, longer than mine. Her form slimmer, sleeker, even with the heavy coat. She has ochre eyes, and ochre is a natural earth color that ranges from yellow, brown to deep orange brown. I had to Google it. I didn't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what that was.
But doesn't that sound like fae that are not from there? When she was out shopping, she thought so many high fae and fairies, many of the latter kinds I had never seen before. And Velaris is just kind of giving otherworldly hub.
It is very like melting pot, big city, like a lot of different areas. Where are they all from? This question.
I think of Star Wars, like all the different districts.
Yes!
I think of Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm into that.
So we learn Feyre's scent. I love talking about scents.
You do.
It's lilac and pear. And it's interesting for two reasons. Our girl Bryce has notes of lilac and nutmeg in her scent. No idea the correlation. And Tam is lilac and cedar. Wonder where the lilac comes from. Or is it random? Like, do genetics play a part of their scent notes?
I think they do. Maybe. I don't think I smell like my mom, though.
I do not smell like stale cigarettes, so I'm good too.
I don't know. I do smell like garlic sometimes, so.
It's the Italian. You're not
it's
a Italian gal.
Yeah, we're talking about the forest. It's not my breath. I'm talking about pasta forest. Okay, I went too far. Go ahead.
So back to Feyre's scent. So Feyre and Moore are walking around Velaris, and she had this thought. Arm in arm, we continued on, the aromas of roasting hazelnuts, pine cones, and chocolate replacing the usual salt and lemon verbena scent that filled the city. As someone who used to love the coconut lime verbena from Bath & Body Works, I went and looked in Throne of Glass when we have seen Rowena and Wendelin when Selena was talking about seeing her Ash Driver cousin with Rowan in the bathtub in Rifthold. And then when Selena becomes Aelin, she gets a scent, Jasmine and lemon verbena. Why is this relevant? As I keep saying, Rhys is Aelin coded. The lemon verbena scent in the city paired with the last episode, I mentioned the gates to the Hewn City, in addition to the great scale black beasts, were carved into them. Around the gates flowed vines of jasmine and moonflowers. Then Blank mentioned Maeve's castle was decorated like the night sky. There were gathering pools freckled with night blooming lilies and jasmine woven around the massive columns. But I also keep saying he's Bryce coded. Hunt noticed jasmine and vanilla before the club exploded, literally, because it was in Bryce's perfume. This was noted in Sky and Breath. It's not one of her notes. The Five Roses district, aka where my baby daddy lives, roses, jasmine, and wisteria were all in perpetual bloom. He also happens to be, or the Bottom King who lives there, happens to be Bryce's dad, so this is relevant. This ties Jasmine to at least Bryce's Fae home, which comes from Prythian. And then the lemon verbena being tied to the scent of Valaris and Aelin Ash River Galathinius. What is actually tying these together? Because it's weird.
It is weird. Like, is it just a hereditary thing? Is that what Mala smells like? Like,
Oh, yeah. Does Mala smell like verbena?
yeah, does she got that verbena? Did she go to Bath and Body Works using her coupons? I don't know. Maybe. But there is a theory out there. To be fair, I haven't looked at it really. We try to avoid any type of theories that we don't come up with. But I do know that people think that Terrasen was like blasted off by the Steri and into Prythian, and that's what the Night Court is.
Okay.
It's thought, not where I go, but I'm just only bringing it up due to the sense.
Okay. I don't agree with that.
Me either. I just was bringing it up set-wise.
That's crazy. I love it. It's crazy. It's out there. I don't agree with it, but whoever hears
like I think they think, like I said, I didn't look into it, but they think it was like blasted off and into the cauldron, and then when she spilled it out, the mother, that's it does. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
They did a crazy dance and they took a crazy chance. All the things.
I love a big swing. I don't take them often.
You don't like to. No, I do it all the time.
But the sense is weird just to like having it captured, because once again, why is SJM giving us these repeated notes?
Mm-hmm.
More on sense later.
I'm going with Mala.
Mala smells good.
Mala smells so good. Like all the other gods are like, God, Mala always smells the best.
That's why she's so talked about.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to talk too much about Lucian, but I will say the amount of times that we're reminded that Lucian is not a spawn of Baron and actually Helions is insane in this book. It's like big red letters saying that this matters, because it's all the alluding to like his power. Even in Silver Flame, no spoilers, but like there's a commanding sense to Lucian. And so like there's a lot of alluding to this guy.
Well, I think the farther he gets away from Spring Court vibes, it's almost like the Earth, the Mother, the powers are starting to creep up, and he's not in Tamlin's shadow. So that's what I'm thinking.
He's removed so he can like really come into his own.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Winter Solstice just a little bit. The whole theme of the book is Winter Solstice, but once again, we are hit with the same themes over and over. Nuala says that Solstice, it's time to reflect on the darkness and how it lets the light shine. Which, damn, we can use this line for so many things. In Throne of Glass, what kills Valg? Light. In terms of Rhys being the Prince of Darkness, while Feyre has dark in her, he sees her as his light. Starborn, personally believe, were created by the Steri to kill Valg with that light. I don't know what happened there, but we're going to keep going. While Feyre is shopping, she's looking at jewels for Amren, and I don't think her descriptions were throwaway lines. Some gleamed like fallen stars. Others smoldered as they'd been carved from the burning heart of Earth. Now, why do I think this is relevant? In Norse mythology, the two things that birthed the world were two opposing realms. Muspelheim, fire, and Niflheim, or as I like to say, Nippelheim, which is ice. separated by the void known as Ginnungagapka. It is described as a vast, empty chasm that existed before creation, a great emptiness or abyss that held the potential for the universe. You probably noticed quite a few terms used to describe hell in that, but before we move on, let's talk about the void in the Maasverse. Apollyon describes him as his father was the void, all caps, the being that existed before, and Chaos was his bride and my dam, which means mother. So yes, I believe the void is similar to the Norse void. He is a part of the creation process as well as with the mother, his dam, Chaos. Now, as for the two fire and ice realms, Niflheim, which we have both talked about a lot, sounds a lot like Maas versus Hell. Now, fire, we might not know if that realm exists, but we definitely know fire power, white hot flame, which combats our icy hell friends. We also know dragons can kill them. I'm really just cannot wait for more dragons in the Maasverse. I like to bring it up anytime I can.
I wonder if we'll get any more. Imagine if we get none. Ariadne was it.
That's it. No, I think we're getting more. I just think that Sarah alludes to a lot of things in very clever ways, and I couldn't help think of the jewels only because of what you think are in jewels sometimes. And the fallen stars got me.
Well,
so
just
that's
it being the city of starlight to like describe the gems like that. It's almost like they plucked them from the sky. Truly.
Since we're on the subject, let's talk about the void and all the ways she likes to bring them up. And this isn't all the ways, this is just a couple, because a lot of times Feyre, when referring to Rhys, there's a lot of talk about like their bond, and when he's missing, it's a void. Like there's a lot of void talk, but we'll just do some of these. When Feyre's in the shop, there's a fabric that the shop owner created after her husband died that she calls the void. It absorbs the light, creates a complete lack of color. She goes on saying it's a newer experiment of hers to see how darkness might be made, woven, to see if I could take it farther, deeper than any weaver ever has. And she's been trying to create the void since the day after it had fallen. There's a silver thread in this fabric, and Elaine asks what it's called, and she says, I call it hope. Feyre says, I stared and stared at the black fabric that was like peering into the pit of hell. And then she stared at the iridescent, living silver thread that cut through it. Bright, despite the darkness that devoured all other light and color, which to me feels like starlight is the hope to conquer the darkness, but who's to say? Now, void represents in the Maasters thus far, because we can't talk about silver flame. When they're in the witch mirror, talks about void. Aelin had a body that was not a body. She knew only because in this void, this foggy twilight, Manon had a body. This is when they are beyond the mist. When Irene is reading the Song of Beginnings, it talks about there being an illustration of an archway with a swirling black nothing, void. And then she saw the Valg, and it tells the story of the three brothers. And then when Irene is healing Chaol, she describes it as it was a void. It was a new dark hell. And that's how Chaol describes his visions, the void. Irene says to find him inside all that dark, the void, the cold, the shrieking pain and horror. And when Nesta was scrying, when she talked to the void, she heard the truth. In the beginning and in the end, there was darkness and nothing more. She said she first heard that truth with her battle with the cauldron. She said she understood it again now as she floated in the same strange place, both full, empty, forever cold. I'm only bringing this all up because we're not done with the void. The void is a large part of the Maasverse. It's not just like, ooh, that's what some of these creatures, especially in Crescent City, were made from. I'm just trying to give a full picture. We've talked about a lot in other coverage of where you see the void. But as for the void fabric, what are your thoughts, Kai?
I think that we've seen that fabric before, and I think that in her experimenting, she did take it farther. Because in Throne of Glass, Selena was in the library and saw a tapestry. It was the sole bit of decoration she'd encountered along the wall. There was no depiction of Elena or a stag or anything lovely and green. No, this tapestry woven from red threads so dark it looked black depicted nothing. She touched the ancient strands, marveling at the hue so deep that it seemed to swallow her fingers in the darkness. And then the hair on the back of her neck rose, and Selena put her hand on the dagger as she pulled the tapestry aside. And we know it led to the other library. So is there a connection between like their like bloodlines or something with the Weavers?
I think so. Interesting that it doesn't have silver in that one because
Uh-oh.
one, she didn't have her power yet, too. Selena didn't. So for symbolism, there wasn't yet hope, if you want to look at it that way. And it's red, which is the king of Ardalan's color. So just a little tidbit there.
And it's interesting that it was so dark it looked black, and then to have the Weaver just be experimenting to see how darkness might be made.
Right.
Interesting.
Which I think it really is the symbolism of like the void's going to matter more and more. Like she went farther, and let's just talk a little bit more. I thought I was done, but I have more to say about the Weaver. She goes, I have to create, or it was all for nothing. I have to create, or I'll crumple up with despair and leave my bed. I have to create because I have no other way of voicing this. It is hard and it hurts, but if I were to stop, if I were to let this loom or spindle go silent, then there would be no hope shining in the void. So I think there's more to this Weaver. I believe she's an actual weaver, not just one that does tapestries in her little shop. Let me tell you my reasoning. So we do find out what the weaver's name is, Arania. And you guys, guess what that means in Latin? Spider. And I'm not kidding. Immediately you're thinking, okay, Valg, but before we jump there, let me just refresh you on what a weaver is in mythology. Across cultures, mythological weavers embody the power to shape destiny, communicate stories, and create order from chaos. Whether through divine craftsmanship, mortal ingenuity, or symbolic representation, weaving remains a potent metaphor for the structures and meaning of life itself. So in Greek mythology, here's just one story. In Greek myths, weaving is closely tied to both divine and mortal figures. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and craft, is the patron of weaving, embodying skill, discipline, and artistry. Her acolyte, Arachne, famously challenged her in a weaving contest, producing a tapestry depicting the gods' misdeeds. Athena, either offended by the subject or Arachne's skills, destroyed the work and transformed Arachne into a spider, preserving her weaving talent eternally. So Arachne does in fact mean spider as well. In Native American traditions, Spider Woman weaves the web of life, emphasizing balance and harmony, while in West African folklore, Anansi, the spider god, weaves stories that convey moral lessons. So this is not just some little craftsman weaver in a shop. She has purpose. And if we look at what she did, I stared at the black fabric that was peering into the pit of hell, and then stared at the iridescent living silver thread that cut through it, bright despite the darkness that devoured all light and color. Now, this woman's husband died against dark forces, but something has changed. We have two characters, Nesta and Feyre. Both have certain powers that could be considered silver. Starlight and death. They represent hope, the thing that will fight against the dark. I mean, Rhys is a part of this too. The only reason the world still exists is because he sacrificed himself for the cauldron, but goodness is hope. Good versus evil, and that's what this is about, and she's weaving.
It's not impossible for her to be like some worldly weaver, because Velaris is this weird hub of people, these unique looking people. I mean, yes, there's different looking beings in every court, but like these are ones that Feyre has said she's never seen before, and she's been all over at this point.
And it's a thin place. The Night Court is a thin place.
Yes.
So it would make more sense for a weaver and Velaris to be able to weave something that is a bigger thing, because it's a thin place. So she would know about the void. I mean, she might not actually know what she's weaving, and it could just be a creative thing given to her by the mother. Who's to say? But she's not just this shop owner.
No, nothing is by coincidence. Not in Velaris.
Nay.
But
I was really excited about the spiders.
They just keep showing up, the Karen Kui.
Because we don't get her name in the original talk when we're talking about the Weaver. It is later on, and I was like, wait, that's her name? And then I started Googling, and I was like, ooh, fun.
So once again, tell me that SJM just picks names willy-nilly.
Nay.
It's ridiculous. But we think Valaris, and there's some Valaris hell attachments. So let's talk more hell connections. When out solstice shopping, Rhys is at the jeweler, who is wraith-like with glowing coal-like eyes. Her frame was wrapped in permanent shadows. The rest tended to come in and out of view as if the shadows parted to reveal a dark hand, a shoulder, a foot. Her people were all master jewelsmiths dwelling in the deepest mountain mines in the Night Court. Most of the heirloom of Rhys' house had been Tartara made, Feyre's cuffs and crowns included. The name Tartara is believed to derive from the Latin word Tartarus, which refers to a deep abyss or a place of punishment in Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, Tartaros, which is also known as Tartarus, was a great pit beneath the earth and the oldest of the Greek cosmogonies. We always struggle with that one. The universe was thought to be a sphere or egg-shaped with a solid dome of the sky forming the upper half and the inverse of the dome, and the pit of Tartaros the lower. The flat horizontal disk of the earth divided the interior of the cosmic sphere into two halves, the homes of men and gods above, and the gloomy, storm-racked prison of the Titans below. Hades was originally quite distinct from the pit of Tartaros. The land of the dead was located either at the ends of the earth beyond the river Oceanus and the setting place of the sun, or else in the hollow depths of the earth's belly. Tartaros, on the other hand, descended as far beneath Hades, i.e. the deepest recesses of the flat earth, as the sky rose above the earth. So are the people from Tartara actually people from a level of hell of some sort?
I believe so, and I think this was a really good catch, especially just the fact that it's under a mountain and they're mining. Like it really plays into every theory that we have about the night court with hell and it being a gateway to hell, if you will.
She was just so unique, and shadows always get me. So this lady wrapped in permanent shadows, where are you from? I think they're from hell, though.
Yes, I think so too. And just like how we've talked about, just we're talking about thin plates, and then we don't know the origins of where this family really came from. Rhys's family seems pretty obvious to us, but yeah, I think there's some hell beings.
We also don't know who Rhys glamours.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's always expending power to protect people. Who the fuck is he glamoring?
Great. Mm-hmm.
I have more questions about that and the cauldron and all of that in this episode.
We'll get back to it. But as we're talking about hell, there's just a couple things that also caught my eye. Not that we're going heavily into it, but Rhys said this about Az. He always understood me best, more than the others, save my mate, whether it was his gifts that allowed him to do so, or merely the fact that he and I were more similar than most realized. I'd never realize. Why are you similar, pal? You little Hellboy besties.
There's even more things about Azriel that like slip out in Silver Flame. He's an interesting one.
You know, and I am happy that we're going to get more of him just because he's so mysterious.
Yes, because like everyone else we get to know loosely, but not as.
All we know is he's
always off.
Yes, and I like that he's kind of funny. Like he's a quiet guy that is funny. So I like that. So we'll have that. But Rhys and Az being so similar is definitely going to get explored.
Yes.
Cass says, actually, it wasn't just Cass. Amryn makes a comment, and then Rhys also makes this comment. Cass says he doesn't like staying at the House of Wind because it's boring, but Az sneaks off into the shadows when he's there. Peculiar that he does that at the House of Wind and not so much at the townhouse. Nothing is normal in the House of Wind.
No, I feel like he's gossiping with the rocks when he goes in and hides in the shadows.
Right? Or is it a gateway to hell down below?
Yeah, like does he just like, I guess like ink in and go through the shadows?
You made me ink. That's what he does.
That's what he says when he comes.
Yeah, for sure. And then we already talked about it. Shadows just come out of his dick.
Yeah, naturally.
That's what happens. Also, when Moore walks into the townhouse after Cass and Feyre got drunk and tried, I say this in quotation marks, decorating, she says, "It's cold as hell in here." I just want to point out, because here we say something as like it's hot as hell, right? That's how we look in American culture, really, of like talking about hell. Is it just common lore that hell is cold? Because when Bryce shows up in the Crescent City, they act like they don't know a thing about it, but Moore knows it's cold.
There is like other ways that they allude to it being hot too. So saying that is weird.
Yeah, I was like, how do you know? How do
Where
you
have
know?
you been, Moore? Where do you keep your horses?
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting little catch, and I was like,
Moore's a weirdo too.
yeah, that power of truth. She's a big fat liar.
Don't even. We are going to get into more.
Yes.
Not yet though. It's you and Rhys.
Oh, sorry, that's black.
Rhys is his official nickname in Silver Flame, and it weirds me out because Cassian also calls him Rhys.
Yeah, Cass calls him Rhys in this book too.
People are nicknames.
Mm-hmm. So for the people that are convinced that Rhys is controlling everybody all the time, he gives us this line. It had occurred to me during the years we've been waging this same battle with Devlin and Illyrians that I could simply rip into their minds, all their minds, and make them agree. Yet there were some lines I could not, would not cross, and Cassian would never forgive me. Rhys has said in the past, I love my people and my family. Do not think I wouldn't become a monster to keep them protected. He has and will do terrible shit to protect them, but he isn't willing to control people to make his life easier. It's more to protect people, but just for the sake of making life easier, he doesn't do that. That's like his line. So he's not masterminding all these people all the time like some people want to believe.
Some people just want to hate him, and I don't understand. Like, do you ride for Nesta that hard? Or, like, why do you... Nesta or Tamlin is the only, like, people I think that they could love to hate Rhys that much.
But, like, if you're going to hate Nesta,
or
if you're going to love Nesta, if you're going to love Nesta, it's weird that you're going to forgive all of her things, but you won't look past some of Rhys's. It's like, what?
You know?
Doesn't make sense, but it doesn't matter.
When they get into Rhys's home, he turned on the fire with his magic. It was barely a whisper of magic, yet its release eased the near constant strain of keeping all that dark power in check. And we've brought up dampening power in the last episode and several episodes. Has he always been at a constant strain of keeping that dark power in check? Or did he absorb it from the cauldron and now he has to work a little harder? So Feyre thinks this about Rhys. I knew he'd given up that life to reforge the cauldron, the fabric of the world itself, so I might survive. And so again, I ask, if something changed in Rhys, he'd give up that life. It's giving like things changed for him when he gave up. So could that explain some of his distaste for Nesta? Like during Solstice, Feyre observed this. Some of the light had vanished from his violet eyes as he studied Nesta while she drank from her glass. Hypothetically, he gave up his old life, was reborn with whatever essence the Daglin, Valgasteri situation was given into the cauldron to make it naughty. Maybe that's why he may seem a little more irritated with her. Like he doesn't realize it, but his magic does. I'm not sold on this, but like where does that magic go that they imbued into it?
Did we have that conversation on the phone? No, I was like, was that on an episode or on the phone?
It was on the phone.
Okay.
Because it was for Frost and Starlight that triggered that thought. Like, where the fuck does that magic go?
Yeah, and he was so quick to say that he didn't absorb any of the High Lord's magic. Like, he said that right away, but he didn't say that he didn't take that Daglin magic.
And because, like, we know that they imbued it, they made it bad. So where does it go? Does it just, because magic likes balance? Yeah,
did it go back into the earth?
Or did it go into Rhys? Because now, once again, he is at a constant strain of keeping dark power in check. And so if he's absorbing whatever's from the cauldron, that's also dark power.
Yeah, is what he took from the cauldron maybe it's like, maybe he got more as well as it's enhancing what he already had in him.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
don't think
like,
he lost anything. I think,
yeah,
if
no, I
anything,
know.
he gained more power.
And it's just like more and more power. And I mean, I understand why his distaste for Nesta would grow at this
Mm.
point. Like, it makes sense. It's his mate. And Nesta's not being great right
No.
now. So I understand it. But yeah, it's a great point as to people keep on thinking that he has like this complete shift in his personality where I don't really see that. I know he does get a little bit more aggressive or irritated, but it makes sense when people are in constant stress. We're not our best selves. And if he got some more of that dog in him due to the cauldron,
Maybe he is more protective given what happens with Feyre and Silver Flame. And maybe part of that is because of the cauldron. I don't know. I want to know where that magic went.
well, and
Because
then
he has a
Nesta
big
stole from the cauldron.
Yeah.
He maybe accidentally stole from the cauldron and they're fighting. Their essence.
Yeah, like that essence inside of him is like, that's mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so that could be, and like, fueling why he seems more irritated in Silver Flame, because he 100% does. But given with everything that's going on with Feyre, like, it makes sense.
It makes sense. And then Nesta really just not doing well.
She was just kind of a nasty bitch to start,
Yeah.
but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Just while we're on the topic of Rhys, fun fact, Rhys's mom was 19 when his 900-year-old papa mated her. I just think that the similarities with Feyre being 19 when all of this started, Rhys is 500, but just interesting.
They really love an age gap.
Really, that is quite an age gap.
Like, people don't understand. This is like, no, this is a billionaire age gap romance. That's Rhys and Feyre, you know?
Feyre's a sugar baby for sure. She lives the ultimate sugar baby dream. She came from squalor and now she's high lady. I want to be her.
She didn't get right the first time. You know, she tried the spring court and I was like, you know, not enough. I can do better.
You're rich, but not rich enough.
No.
I don't see
She wanted to be fuck you rich, not just like rich.
Yeah. Tamlin's not like her private jet like Rhys is.
Baby, there's no plane.
I guess Feyre's her own private plane now.
She truly is. She can fly. She's doing better too. We learned that.
But less about Feyre. Let's get back to Rhys and let's finally talk about Rhys's eyes. And I need everyone to bear with me because I have a lot to say. So it says, icy rage darken the stars in those violet eyes. Okay. If Rune has Rhys's eyes, like in House of Sky and Breath, chapter 78, when Bryce met Rhys, she thought his eyes were the same shade of violet blue as Rune's. And then Rhys has Maeve's eyes. In chapter 59 of Heir of Fire, it says this about Maeve's eyes. She turned her violet starry eyes to Selena and gave her that spider smile. And of course, in chapter 9 of ACOTAR, we have our first encounter with Rhys's eyes. His violet eyes glittered with stars. We learn in the Ember bonus chat of House of Flame and Shadow, Rhys's eyes were again described as Rhys's violet blue eyes swept over Randall and then Ember, just to bring it back to the violet eyes of Rhys and Ember saying specifically violet blue. Stay with me. So Rune has his mother's eyes as well. In Rune's bonus chapter of House of Sky and Breath, it says this about Rune's mom's eyes. A sadness in her deep blue eyes, Rune's eyes. So if she has those eyes, she has Rhys's eyes. So was Maeve somehow a part of the creation of Rhys and Rune? Was she an Asteri? So let's talk about Rune's mom. She is a Donnell. Donnell is the Rhys side of things. Donnell means world ruler or ruler of the world. And Rune's mom is named Lauren. Lauren is also thought to mean laurel or laurel tree, which some might recognize as a symbol of victory. She is 2 centuries older than Rune. Rune's around 75, so she's around 275. And Morven is her uncle. She mated, not mates, like they had a baby with Autumn. In chapter 24 of an ACOTAR, Rhys says a mating bond can be rejected. There is a choice. Sometimes the mating bond is nothing more than the preordained guesswork at who will provide the strongest offspring. And Lauren also has black hair and is very subdued. All of this had me wondering, was a Thunderbird used to resurrect Maeve? And then was she placed into this different body? Because when Maeve died you guys have to, this will all come full circle. When Maeve died in chapter 114 of Kingdom of Ash, Fenrir stabbed Maeve with Goldrin, and then Aelin put the ring on her finger and burned her to ash in the following chapter. There's no doubt she died. But in Therion's bonus chat, Therion says, what happens when the dead come back? Are they the same? Hypaxia says, no. If their body has been destroyed, they require a new one, which is disorienting, to say the least. And some find that they do not want to be ripped from the eternal lands. I haven't done a true raising, though, so I can only tell you what I've learned from my tutors. We operate by strict moral code. And we know, thanks to the prologue of House of Sky and Breath, that Thunderbirds had been hunted to extinction by the Asteri centuries ago because of that mighty, unconquerable gift, or so it seemed. And then in chapter 16 of House of Sky and Breath, this was said. If she catches him, she'll drag him back to Ophion's main base and turn him into a weapon, into exactly what the Asteri feared when they hunted down the Thunderbirds centuries ago. We're almost there, guys. We learn in chapter 49 of House of Flame and Shadow that Thunderbirds were once able to aid necromancers to use their lightning to hold the souls of the dead. They could even imbue their powers into ordinary objects like weapons and give them magical properties. They're hell-made and they're sent through the Northern Rift. So, did one of Maeve's faithful followers scoop her up, hold on to her to reincarnate her into a new body? Is she in Lauren's body, and her being bred with the Thotham King was fate saying they will create a powerful being? Or did the Asteri know that? So in comes Rune, looking like Rhys, being disoriented thanks to necromancy and being ripped from the Eternal Lands could explain why she was so subdued. Like, how else are we explaining Maeve, Rhys, Rune?
I don't know. And like, even just your point about like, did one of her like cronies or sweep her up? I mean, we saw the Adder did that right away with Jurian, grab that quickly because they knew there would be use for him. So it's very, very possible that, I mean, a lot was going on during that battle. And people we probably don't even know were bad were maybe working on the other side.
Yeah. And I mean, Maeve was loved. Maeve was loved. There were people fighting for her, supporting her. I mean, she still had her cronies. So, like, why wouldn't somebody be, like, scooping her up? Like, how can I save her?
Well, also just the question about Maeve, like, with her eyes being violet, those aren't regular Val guys. They normally have black eyes. So, it's like, was the violet just a part of her glamour? Or was she different?
I mean, Maeve said that she always felt different. That's why she wanted to leave. And
yeah, it wasn't enough for her.
I don't know how else we can explain it. Like, obviously, there's like some sort of genetic tie-in, but like, I don't know how we're going to explain the connection.
Well, yeah, because, okay, so we have, if we think Valg are come from hell, or like there's the connection there with them, then that would mean that Maeve would also be from hell. Was she a queen of hell? Is that what she is? But if Rhys is a descendant, yeah, like it would just be through the bloodlines. But then bringing up your point there with Lauren, God, yeah, where does she come from?
She's, like I said, the Donnell side, and which is obviously Rhys's side, the fact that it means like world ruler, like why is she so fucking subdued? Like why is she just like Elaine? Or is she a seer? Who knows? It's her behavior is so weird to just be aloof.
Yeah, she's fine just staying in her little fortress and not doing anything. Like she's okay with her life with the Autumn King. Like it is weird. It's a possibility for sure.
I don't know if I'm sold on it, but like I really don't know how else to theorize about their connection, because like obviously we know that they're all connected, but it's just like the how.
And I know some people think that Lauren is either Rhys's sister or mom, even though Rhys saw the heads and everything. And so maybe it was one of them that got necromanced in some way and went over it. That's possible too. But still, it all comes back down to how is she like Maeve? How do they all have Maeve's eyes?
Unless like it's a god putting that essence, like making sure that stays in the bloodline. But then again, how does it stay in the bloodline? Who's to say?
Yeah, just with we've been talking about reincarnation so much because it is a part of this book, and then you bring in the necromancer aspect of it. Who would want Maeve alive? Like in the grand scheme of good versus evil, or like that bloodline. Why is Maeve's bloodline important to be alive?
How does Maeve have a bloodline that is succeeding?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, does she have little hell babies beforehand that we don't know about?
Yeah, does she throw them?
Did she throw those babies?
She's like, no, thank you. Your problem now. And Rhys was a survivor. Very Destiny's Child. I'm a survivor.
And Maeve is Beyonce always.
She would allow, I think that then Rhys would have to be what, Kelly Rowland?
No, Rhys is also Beyonce always.
So Beyonce is the three-headed goddess.
Yes. Yeah, everyone knows this.
But so Rhys and Beyonce and Maeve are one.
Yeah. Rune is not Beyonce. He's not. He's a Kelly
Rowland.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. Well, then I want to talk about Rhys fucking because I have a question.
I always want to talk about Rhys fucking. Go ahead.
So it says he withdrew and drove in and released the damper on his power. Stars flickered around us, sweet darkness sweeping in, as if we were the only souls in a galaxy. And still, Rhys remained before me, my legs wrapped around his waist, and brushed my mental hand down him and breathed, "Can you fuck me in here too?" Two things. A lot of mind fucking going on in this story. Rhys and Varun, not together. Get it, star babies? Or maybe they did, who knows? But two, what if Rhys was glamoring all Prithian and this release on damper was showing her true Prithian hell? Just like, what if? Like, what kind of damper does this guy got? Like, what is he expending his power on daily?
Yeah, there's a lot we don't know. But I do think Feyre knows more than we lead on, because in this book, she said that Rhys is slowly starting to tell her what happened under the mountain. So she doesn't know everything. And I think Rhys loves a secret. And that's why his wings are so big and his dick. But I think she may know more than we know.
And we're not going to know that because this perspective for Feyre is so focused on her art studio and all of that. So, like, she's not giving us information about Rhys. And then, of course, we're getting more in Cassian's point of view. So, like, and then Rhys isn't going to tell us. He doesn't want to tell us.
No, that's...
So she definitely knows, but we're not going to know.
We're not going to know.
I want to talk about the Wraith twins. I love talking about Wraiths. Looking at you, Vic.
Oh, God.
Don't get me started. So the twins are fascinating. They are half Wraith shadow skinks. Nuala the name is likely derived from Finn Nuala. It is an Irish feminine given name derived from Irish mythology. So who is Fionn Nuala? Fionn Nuala is a prominent figure in Irish mythology, like I just fucking said, depicted as the eldest daughter of Lear, the ancient sea god and personification of the ocean, in the legendary tale known as Children of Lur. Alongside her three younger brothers, she was transformed into a swan by her jealous stepmother. You talked about this the other day, by the way. And condemned to wander Ireland's water for 900 years, symbolizing themes of enchantment, endurance, and redemption in Celtic folklore. And we know wraiths exist in all three worlds, but they are rare. There's water wraiths, which are mermaids, and then the shadow. Yes.
Before we get into the next part about this one, Fionn Nuala?
Yes.
Fionn?
Yes. What is that?
Okay. Do you remember in our Crescent City coverage when you and I were talking about how weird it was about Thea and Fionn, and they needed to like be on the hush hush with their relationship? And then we look at, why do her daughters have this dark power that she doesn't necessarily have?
Right.
Thea, right? So I think Fionn had that dark power. I think he had some shadow daddiness anyways. Then we learned that they're race, and then we have the question that Amryn was like, she makes a point like, Fae will stick their dick in anything and create their... What if she's a descendant of Fionn?
I don't disbelieve that, because I mention hold on.
Oh,
We get more into this.
and like Fionn stuck in that bog, and it's a racer in there.
Well,
Okay,
I'm going to get ahead of myself because, like, what is a wraith? Wraith stories speak of shadowy figures that linger on the edge of life and death, seen not as simple ghosts, but as something far more dangerous and unresolved. The creators tend to be evil. Okay, Fionn. But some stories say they appear when someone tries to gain immortality using dark magic. It can be they either become the wraith or birth one that will terrorize them. The second method of creation is that they are spirits with unresolved issues, but they are unable to satisfy their desires. And then being unable to find closure, they transform into soul-stealing wraith that is fueled by dark emotion, which like made me curious where they come from and how they found Azriel and Rhys. But if they're from then they're already there.
And we know that Fionn was put into a bog and like killed, and he's still there. And we will talking about this in Silver Flame a lot. But if water racer down there, if he had water sex with some fucking wraith and then she went out, I make sound effects.
Coming. That's shadow come.
That shadow is not the dick.
So now we know what Azriel sounds like when he comes.
And like Rhys can decide, does he want shadows coming out of the dick or does he want stars? That's a different sound. Shooting stars, if you will.
Please tell me what the other sound is.
It's like the wind, but then stars are coming out, okay?
That is so much better than what I thought.
What were you thinking?
Have you ever seen the grapefruit video?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, once upon a time, I had roommates and we were showing a video. It was a lady with a grapefruit and it's exactly where it's going.
Okay.
You give a blowjob with the grapefruit, but she did an example and the noises were like, like it was insane. And that's where I went, but I'll send it to you.
No.
No?
No. I'll block you.
So then we have Ceridwen. Her name is a girl's name. It's pronounced, Ceridwen, my bad. It is of Welsh origin, and the meaning of Ceridwen is fair, blessed poetry. In Celtic Welsh mythology, Ceridwen is a powerful underworld goddess and the keeper of the cauldron of knowledge, inspiration, and rebirth. She rules the realms of death, fertility, regeneration, inspiration, magic, enchantment, and knowledge. Ceridwen is a shape-shifting goddess, able to take on various forms. She is known as a white witch or goddess and is also associated with herbology and astrology. And I just thought that was really ironic given where the fuck these two twins come from.
And if you remember, I brought up Ceridwen, our first episode of our ACOTAR coverage. When I brought it up, I was talking about the Great Rite in pagan cultures. And let's revisit it before we go into Ceridwen more of what Kai is talking about. There are two main ways the Great Rite is performed. The most common is the symbolic Great Rite. In this version, ritual tools stand in for the god and goddess. The cauldron, usually held by the high priestess, represents the womb or feminine aspect. I couldn't say it then, can't say it now. Athame?
Hold on. Sure.
The athame, a ritual dagger held by the high priest, stands for the masculine principle. During that ritual, the high priestess may kneel at the altar with the cauldron, and while the high priest stands with the athame, together they recite the words that call on the energies of growth, renewal, and vitality. The key moment in the symbolic rite is when the high priest lowers the dagger into the cauldron. This act represents the union of divine forces. Often this is accompanied by the words about the land of youth, the wine of life, and the cauldron of Ceridwen, a symbol of transformation in Celtic mythology. The high priest may then lift the cauldron, marking the completion of the rite and celebrating the unity of the god and goddesses. By performing this ritual, practitioners honor the connection of all life and the cycles that shape existence. It also serves as a reminder of the sacredness of sexuality and the importance of harmony between masculine and feminine energies, both within ourselves and in the world. Now, in my opinion, it very much applies to the story because, of course, the Great Rite happens in ACOTAR, and we will continue to explore it. The symbolism of the cauldron being creation and mother, which is clearly a theme in the entire Maasverse with chaos, mother, Erd, Chthona. Now, I think it really matters as the part of the union of the divine forces. Kai and I have both talked about extensively that we think Ragnarok, aka Twilight of the Gods, is in fact happening behind the scenes in all three of these series. We believe there's an internal war between multiple factions in that god world. Now, saying the act represents the union of divine forces and the importance of harmony between masculine and feminine energy, not only can you look at the void and chaos, but also between the Valg, Dagland, Asteri, Tog gods. And then we have the part that they literally put a dagger inside the cauldron. When Selene is detailing Perithian lore, she brings up how the Star Sword came out of the cauldron. But what do we know about the truth teller? Those two go together. So when Vesper said to Az, you have no idea what it does, do you? That's because I believe it very much is connected with the cauldron. And I would be surprised if something huge happens when you reunite the two, the sword and the dagger, and put them inside that cauldron.
Oh, what if that's how they actually heal her? And then, oh my God, everybody's magic is freed again. And you could be onto something, sister.
I kind of think I might be. Like, the mythology just checks out.
Once again, she definitely pulls these stories.
And like, it was just very specific with the cauldron and the daggers. Like, I don't know, it makes sense to me. So let's add to more what Kai has told us about Caradwyn. In Welsh origin, she represents the crown. She's known as the keeper of the cauldron in the Celtic legend of Bran the Blessed. Bran, really? The cauldron appears as a vessel of wisdom and rebirth. Bran, mighty warrior god, obtains a magical cauldron from Caradwyn in disguise as a giantress, who has been expelled from a lake in Ireland, which represents the other world of Celtic lore. The cauldron can resurrect the corpse of dead warriors placed inside it. Bran gives his sister Branwen and her new husband, the King of Ireland, the cauldron as a wedding gift, but when war breaks out, Bran sets out to take the valuable gift back. He's also accompanied by a band of loyal knights with him, but only 7 return home. 7. Also, fun fact, remember how I told you about that story, Peridian, about the series, the book series? Disney's The Black Cauldron was loosely based on this, so I think we need to all watch it for homework.
Is it on Disney Plus?
Yes, it is.
Is it a movie?
Yeah, I've never watched it. It's a very dark, but The Black Cauldron.
You know, I will stop what I'm doing to actually watch this. I'm actually curious.
I'm curious to see if we learn something from it.
Well, is SJM a big Disney gal?
I mean, she's a millennial.
Yeah.
I mean, she probably has always loved stories and got some. She probably, The Black Cauldron is known for it being very dark. So that would be something she'd be into.
All right. So we are all watching this together and we're going to record an episode.
Okay, but do you think I'm onto something about the cauldron?
I want to, because what are the odds that there is a fucking blade associated with it? And then we know about the 2 blades. Like, when you're first reading this story, if you're not like into Crescent City, you don't fucking know about the Star Sword. And then you connect those two, like, damn, you're onto it.
And then just the divine forces and like us and all of our talk about Ragnarok, I think if you put them, just with her saying, you don't know what it does. No, he doesn't.
All right, so everybody's watching that. And then we'll get into shadows after we watch the cauldron. Okay, so the wraiths are obviously buddy-buddy with Azriel, which is also unique. Like, we learn about Azriel and his shadows, and I wonder if maybe, if it's not beyond, like, what if Azriel created them out of his shadows? So let's get into his shadows.
Okay, so the wording of how Cass describes Az's winnowing is so intriguing. He was thinking about how winnowing would be helpful in battle, and he's seen Rhys do it, Az too, in the strange way that Az could move through the world without technically winnowing. So Kai is going to teach us a thing or two about his shadows.
I know this isn't Silver Flame, but just again, Azriel is the only Illyrian aside from Rhys that can winnow.
That's a lot of power.
Yeah. So this Shadow Daddy can winnow. So we talked about shadows in the last episode, but in chapter 7, we get this. A corner of Azriel's mouth curled up, the shadows about him sliding over his neck like living tattoos, twins to the Illyrian ones marked beneath his leathers. Shadows different from anything my power summoned spoke to, born in a lightless, airless prison meant to break him. So in chapter 48 of Crescent City, House Flame and Shadow, I took you through Shadows 101 with Rune. So this is basically Shadows 102 with Azriel. So shadows seem to be associated with Valg. There's going to be a lot of repeat information, but it's all relevant. So shadows seem to be associated with Val, cold, and wind. In Throne of Glass, Cain was no more than shadows and wind when fighting Selena, and we know he was using word marks to summon demons, so he's not cool. While Selena was fighting old Babs, the woman went flying as though she were made of nothing but dust and wind, tumbling into the shadows between years. Shadows and wind are frequently mentioned together, especially with witches. Shadows at times are sentient, it seems. The shadows in the library of the castle are referred to as more alert. Irene identified that some shadows are sentient and a part of the Valve, aka parasites. It said that Val could summon shadows if they wished and hide within them, and those shadows could turn deadly in an instant. We saw this with Duva when shadows lashed from her, blasted around her, and slithered out of her lips. Another Valve, Maeve, had shadows that rose in a wave and had shadows that could devour. And then when Dorian was possessed by a Valve, shadows were in there waiting in the darkness and, of course, not of this world, meant to fill him with primordial cold. So then in Crescent City, Hell does have a presence in the shadows. The shadows smiled at Hunt when he was in the dungeons, and it ended up being Adis. The shadows from Hell seem to be darker and older, described as death in the shadows. And then Rune and Cormac are the only shadow wielders, really, until Az joins the party in Book 3. And then Cormac's shadows are darker and more feral than Rune's. They're described as untamed and like a stampede of stallions waiting to gallop over them. And then when Bryce asked why they are different from Rune's, he never answered her, and now he never can.
Sorry.
Rune didn't get the Thottam King's fire magic. He got more Valen Fae magic than Valbarn. His shadows, similar to Azriel, can hide him from others and not sound, whisper around him. They seem to have a mind of their own. But then they aligned a little more with Rhys's. They swirled at his shoulders like a phantom pair of wings, similar to how Rhys's had a shadow pair spread from his back. They gathered at his shoulders like a snake, ready to strike. When he wore his shadows to meet Daybright mind to mind, he was cloaked in stars and shadows. His shadows are described as more gentle, stealthy night. So then, in Crescent City, House of Flame and Shadow, SJM was sure to let us know Rhys was rippling with shadows and stars to let us know that they were connected. And then Azriel's shadows obviously play a big part in that book too, but one of the most interesting references was Bryce saying she could have sworn his shadows hovered, watching like curious snakes. Again, a snake reference with shadows. In all 3 series, there is one. And then we get to Morven, where the shadows are seemingly corrupted. The King's shadows, the murder twins, they felt different from Rune's, wilder, meaner. Rune's shadows were gentle, stealthy night. Theirs was the dark of lightless caves. And then when the murder twins tried to go into their minds in the next chapter, he detected oily shadows creeping through. Sounds similar to the incest twins trying to access Lucian's and Tamlin's unprotected minds, which that's interesting, by the way. Why were their minds unprotected in the Spring Court?
Yeah, why wouldn't that be something that, especially a High Lord, really?
Like, why wasn't he shielding? Like, even Lucian being a High Lord's son, you feel like he would know about that. Because, like, why did Elaine magically have her mind protected? Like, thanks to the cauldron, obviously, but, like, why aren't these Fae?
Yeah, that is interesting.
So back to it, I had asked, are the Avellan shadows untamed or corrupted? And then does Rune's Starborn power protect him from his shadows being corrupted? So Rhys's shadows are mentioned more when he loosens his dampen on his power. A few examples. He loosened the dampen on his power and shadows were twining between the strands of his hair. He spoke again as if the words tumbling out loosened his grip on his power. Talons of smoke curled around his fingers and great wings of shadows spread from his back. Rhys snorted and shadows gathered around him as he loosened his grip on his power. And his shadows were were always on the form of forming wings. They are constantly referenced together with stars and wind. Feyre made a remark about him and Helion. If Rhys was a flying terror crafted from shadows and cold moonlight, Helion was his daytime equivalent. This one stuck with me since... No, I'm not going to say that part, just kidding. Now on to Azriels. He's a shadow singer. They're rare and coveted by courts and territories across the world for being stealthy and their predisposition to hear and feel things others can't. His shadows constantly whisper and murmur to him. Right off the bat, the way his acts are different and seem more sentient than Rhys's. Azriels are always wreathing his neck and wrists, gathering on the tips of his wings, talking to him. They can also protect him when he was strangling Eris. Perhaps those shadows that now slid and eddied around the shadow singer hid him from the wrath of the binding magic. And then they flow from him as smoke, can hide him and others And they can look for things like the cauldron. Azriel's shadows and the wind recoiled from the cauldron singing, but there's no mention of Rhys acting similar. Azriel himself was said to have a voice like shadows given form, dark, smooth, and cold, and like shadows given sound. In a Rhys point of view, he said this about Azriel's shadows. Different from anything my powers summon spoke to, born in a lightless, airless prison meant to break him. They did not have an explanation for where his power came from, which brings us back to the question, are his shadows a gift from the princes of hell?
Hellas himself, maybe.
Exactly. But like his ability to create shadows, the fact that they can talk, that's why I'm like, God, did he create these wraith twins that work for him? But now that we're like talking about Theon, Luella, it makes more sense for him to be like the maker somehow down the line.
Down the line, but that doesn't mean like, because what do we learn? That they are like, Rhys is their High Lord and they answer him, but they're very much in with but I think, yeah, something about them is weird though. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like we will get more on the twins because they are so close with Elaine. Like that is her Valkyrie crew. Really struggled with that one.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of Elaine, while we're here, I'm only barely touching on this. And I keep on thinking about how Elaine, like Az is so in tune with Elaine, but then you just mentioned that she's with them all the time. Well, and Caradwyn, and they report back. So he is very much aware of her moods and everything because they're reporting back to him. Not to say they don't have some type of connection.
Right.
They do, but that's another insight where it might, I know everyone wants them together. And I get why. Even just the fact that as mom, most likely, if we're inferring, lives at a place called Rose Hall. And we know Elaine is our flower power queen. I get it. Also, just the fact between Rhys and Az about Lucian, if he was tracking him or not. Az just has an interest in Elaine, and Elaine seems to have it for him as well. Like when they rescued her from Highburn, she looked up at Az and said, "You came for me." Like they have some time. I know. I was trying not to say it. They have some type of connection there, but I now think the twins have a lot to do with it too, of just why he's so in the know with her.
I mean, like I feel like they're probably speaking so highly of her too, because like they brought her back to life essentially. And so like, this is the version that Azriel gets. Who wouldn't want to fall in love with like somebody who's like blooming?
Mm-hmm. And like, we can make fun of Elaine all we want. There's a lot because she just doesn't give us a lot, but she is very pure. Like she's good. And I think that Az doesn't see that a lot. He sees a lot of darkness.
No, is that because he's always in the shadows?
He's always in the shadows. Yeah. But that, it's like a yin and yang with those two.
And they're so interesting. Now I'm going to be thinking about a lot how she is with the twins that report back to Azriel. I like, it, but I don't even like think about that.
I didn't even think about it until you were just talking. Like you were talking about, we were talking about their loyalties and everything. And I was just like, remember when Feyre went to go ask Elaine something and the twins are like, not today. Like it was one of a bad day. So it's just like, yeah, they're reporting everything to Az.
And maybe that's also why he's like so protective of her, because like he knows the ins and outs of her day.
And what she needs, because they very much know what she needs during times, and so he does too.
That might make him a really good boyfriend.
Truly.
Like, he's anticipating her needs. Like, I think I just might start standing Azriel so hard. Like, now. You know what? This has nothing to do with anything, but I wanted to share that I'm going to bitch about Cassian in Silver Flame because he's a little whiny.
Mm. Yes, I can join in.
Okay.
Not to say I don't like Cass.
I totally like him, but I'm like,
I do really like Cass. He is, he's got some emotional intelligence and he's very patient, but I have things to say.
Yeah, I'm reading Silver Flame currently, and so yeah, he's interesting. Whiny bitch. Speaking of interesting people, let's talk about more. I have so much to say about more. So bear with me, guys. Holy shit. So Moore has 2 point of views. She has chapter 6 and chapter 24, and they are titled with her government name, Morrigan. It opens with, "There was no light in this place, there never had been." So, is this a place no Starborn have been? Which is a very curious thought, knowing our Starborn friends have starlight in them when she's talking about the hewn city. She also immediately points out that amongst the towering pillars carved with those scaled, slithering beasts, there is such an emphasis on these pillars and these beasts. Like, are they the beasts of hell? Which, more on Morgan with this. So they're in the hewn city in chapter 6. Immediately she says it was not the sort of darkness that Moore had come to love in Valaris. The sort of darkness that was as much a part of Rhys as his blood. It was the darkness of rotting things, of decay, the smothering darkness that withered all life. Again, I bring up rot. There is rot of the books in the library in the spring court, the rot in the autumn court, and now we have it in the hewn city with Kier. Something isn't right in these courts, and you have said like something's brewing down there, and now like we have the term rot, and which makes it like, not that I didn't believe it, but it feels like so official with the rot.
Yeah, and especially with every time she uses rot, it's so specific, and there's a dissent, like something's not going right down there.
No. So in the hewn city, Moore does not use her voice. It was not her own, never down here with them in the darkness. And I think that's interesting. Like, whose voice is she using? Is it that otherworldly voice down there? So she has that power. But also, where does that voice come from?
And I know she has trauma. Like, obviously, she has trauma. And there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable and being hurt and everything. But sometimes just with Moore, she confuses me a little bit because she's the Morrigan, so strong, but she really does cower down to Eris and Kier, which you're about to go into.
Yeah.
But
So
it is interesting.
Upon seeing Eris, she has a flashback of the incident. The damp earthen scent of rotting things beneath the leaves and roots she lay upon had been thrown and left upon. Once again, rot in the autumn court. But this voice that speaks isn't Eris when they find her. A male voice, foreign and deep, swore. And then Eris says, no one touches her. The moment we do, she is our responsibility. And I personally don't think that this was like, yuck, get her off my land, or get her off my hands. I think Eris has to play a game like Rhys and didn't touch her because he didn't want to be the one to explain why she was saved or having to kill her to keep the act up. I think Eris got word to Azriel. The other person gets cut off when saying, but they nailed a by Eris. Nailed a what? She relives the 3 iron nails hammered into her 3 times each. And then Eris says, I take it you do not wish to live here, Morgan. He says, and then he says some mean things. Once again, I think it was a facade. The other voice tries again with, but that dissenting voice cut in again. Who is that? It's like they know both sides of Eris and know he's better than this. Also, who is the they in the they nailed a? Who actually did this to Moore? Like, I think it's interesting. Who's that other voice? Like, it's foreign? How do they know Eris is good? And then, like, who nailed the letter to Moore?
Well, and I don't think that other voice is, like you said, I think he knows both sides. He's playing both sides. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he swore when he saw Moore makes it wasn't like, fuck that bitch. It was like, fuck, you know, like.
He's like, now I have to handle this.
And now I'm thinking, in this book, Moore talks about how she was healed by Magda. Is that her name? Maja?
Yeah.
Maja. Healed by Maja said she took all of the scars away. Like, it was pretty much gone from her stomach. And I just can't help but thinking with the witchiness was unclean written on her.
Right.
Just like the witches.
Do you think she got pregnant with Cassian's baby?
Baby.
Or do you think it was unclean in the aspect of she was soiled of that? Because, like, it could be either, truly.
It could be either. But, like, just with the cutting off, her making the point about the scars, and then what we've all talked about with Moore being a witch and just that line in the hewn city, there's a lot more to this. And yeah, who is that person that knows?
Like that, this is something that keeps me up at night. Who is this foreign and deep voice that is trying to help more and wants Eris to help more, but like Eris obviously has a part to play.
Eris is a mastermind type of character. He's not smarter than Rhys. He's not smarter, but like he is working multiple steps ahead all the time that I will be really sad if he isn't as good as I want him to be.
Did you know that people think Eris is gay?
I knew people shipped him, but no, I didn't know that.
I never look up anything, and I was like looking up then like I was looking up stuff about Eris, doesn't matter. And people think that he knows that Moore is gay, and that's why he said he would never touch her, and that he himself is gay, and that's why he would never touch her. Like,
Such is homophobic because he's a good dancer.
I just like I never got the impression like, yeah, he's well dressed, but so are all the other fucking Fae. Like
I think we'll revisit this in the next book.
it was a really wild take.
I think there are so many people that are always trying to ship characters as straight characters as gay in like pop culture all the time. So I'm not putting a lot of stock into this one.
You heard it here first. Eris and Az.
Actually, I feel like I've seen that somewhere that they want it to happen.
I'm actually not interested. I don't know who I want Azriel to. Well, no, I do, but we can't even talk about it in the next book.
We'll talk about it later. Okay. I don't really believe this, but I'm just pointing it out because we talk about eye color. Eris has amber eyes. Baron has brown eyes. Lady Autumn has russet. Lucian also has russet. And then Helion has amber. I'm just pointing it out.
Well, there's all these things pointing out Lucian, okay? So it's not a bad thing to point out.
I'm just pointing out the fact that Eris has the same as Helion. But
I wish you would have put a singular eye for Lucian because you pointed out amber eyes. Lucian only has one.
Yeah, the other one's gold and whizzing about. So my bad.
Does you think he calls it like old whizzer? Let me pop my old whizzer in. Does he take it out?
Oh my God, please stop. Now I'm just picturing Pirates of the Caribbean, that poor guy with the eye rolling around.
Oh, but he need like does it stay shiny? Like does he need to go get it shined? Polished.
I hate this conversation. I hate it.
Okay, back to Moore. When Moore is thinking about dying, she's like, she would rather die here, bleed out. She would rather die and return. Return as something wicked and cruel and shred them all apart. Can she return as something wicked and cruel?
This isn't a throwaway line. It's possible. But maybe she once was something or someone wicked and cruel. And maybe the mother found another use for her. Who's to say?
It said she wished she could grow claws as Rhys could and rip out that pale throat, but that was not her gift. Her gift had left her here, broken and bleeding. And I just want to know how truth landed her there. Fucking Cassian isn't a truthful thing. Like,
no, I just feel like Jennifer Lawrence on Hot Ones. What do you mean? How did truth land her in there? Is that her actual gift? I keep on thinking about Faye were saying multiple times, like her alleged power.
Once again, I'm not sold that Moore is bad. I know you are. I think we're just missing so much with Moore.
I don't care for Moore. She's not my cup of tea. I would never be friends with Moore. I'm just gonna be the love bombing and everything isn't my thing. I agree. There's a lot more to her. And maybe she's not bad, but maybe she was in a different life.
Yeah. Do you know, maybe she had a part to play at some other point.
Mm-hmm.
So in Moore's chapter, we discover that she has a secret lair and is a horse girl. She bought the house 300 years ago. And the only correlation I found to 300 years ago was the Kaganite. Formed, keeping, and adapted the gods of everyone. Rowan was over 300 years old, and the Mycenaeans were banished 300 years prior. And, like Blakely brought up, Lorcan visited the kingdom 300 years ago. That sounds an awful lot like Bellaris on the other side of the world. Oh my God, what if Moore And Lore can have a secret baby. I'm waiting for a secret baby.
We're trying.
Aside from Lucian.
And aside from Amryn and Thanatos having Fury.
I almost called her Jury.
Oh, Jury.
So Mor has a horse named Elia. The name is an alternate version of the name Ella and translate to other. Fear not, the translation can be much more mystical than alienating. Elia may also translate to beautiful fairy maiden, hinting to the other world. She rides the horse flowing in the western wind. Again, in the last episode, I brought up when Feyre had Elaine find the Azriel, she said it moves through the world like the breath of the western wind. And then I said that there has been a mention of a western wind. In chapter 42 of Empire of Storms, Manon says she sometimes dreams of flying over a lush green land, the song of a western wind singing her home. Again, the western wind is wild and sings to a Valg-made being, and the Azriel moves through the world like a breath of the western wind. So back to Mor, her home's in Athelwood. It's named Noble House. Athel is a prefix, turning names into noble or royal born. So it came with, of course, an extensive library. Shocking. The house also came with 6 horses. All of them are rare and coveted breeds. And I bet you anything that one is an Asterian.
There's no way it's not.
It was in a land of rolling hills and burbling streams, of ancient forests and crashing seas. She had always been drawn to the untamed wild things of the world. Asterian horses are described as untamed. It's canon that one of those 6 horses is an Asterian. It's the hill I will die on for some reason. Watch, she comes back and is like, all 6 horses are this breed. So when her blood calls to her to travel to the continent, go as far and wide as you can. Go on the wind. It is very much like Themis, the goddess of wild things who watched over Lysandra in Throne of Glass. It's giving Themis is in Prythian. Doesn't mean like that's her god associated, it's just giving her a hand. Who knows? Maybe Athelwood is Themis's temple in the Night Court because it reminds her of Terrasen, and that's the closest to the Oakwalled Forest she can get. Because Terrasen was a land of towering mountains, the Staghorn spread before them with valleys and rivers and hills, a land of untamed wild beauty. Sounds a lot like where Mor is, which is a land of rolling hills, burbling streams, ancient forests, crashing seas. She's not even at her house yet, and she sees a patch of darkness. It did not move, did not seem to do anything but linger and watch. Familiar and yet foreign. Something in her power whispered not to touch it or go near it. But she still watched that darkness in the thorns as if a shadow had fallen asleep amongst them. Not like Azriel's shadows twining and whispering, something different. Something stared back, watching her in turn. Do we think that this could be Bryaxis or something different? I think towards the latter.
Something different?
Yeah.
I do too. I think it actually, everyone just goes with it being Bryaxis. But I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think the familiar yet foreign is the shadows, but not Bryaxis shadows. I think Bryaxis is running rampant and not in the same court currently. Oh my god, what if Bryaxis is in the middle? Likely, actually.
Yeah, it is probably very likely. Yeah, no, I do think it's something different. Because she knows not to go near it, but she doesn't seem that fearful, where Bryaxis is fear itself.
Right.
So I think she would have a different reaction internally if it was Bryaxis.
Do we think that Morgan has potential shadow magic in her? If she is she hails from the Night Court, she's got darkness in her. Like, do we think that she maybe hides shadow magic or can't access it? Because remember how Bryce, she learned to winnow. You just have to focus on that. So, and I don't know, maybe she has shadows in her.
Well, and maybe she sees Rhys's darkness as comforting and warm, and she has the opposite from her dad's side, and she doesn't fucking with that magic.
Yeah.
She's an enigma riddled in cash. I don't know about her.
Riddled in cash. They make a lot of money in Belarus. So moving on to Cassian, that we're not going to touch too much on. He has 3 point of view chapters 3, 8, and 21. And because he's heavily focused on Silver Flame, I'm saving my thoughts for the next book because it makes more sense then anyway. But we do get to know him a lot more in these 3 chapters. We're given insight to his blood right, his mom and what happened to where he was from, how kind he is to take care of the camp, even though he's the human equivalent to a watery bell to them. So I think in book 6, it's just going to give us, I think it's going to give us Moore's point of view, because we got used to Cassian's voices like and what his interactions with Nesta were like. And then we meet Emery through him, which is not to spoil, but plays a part in the next book. And there were all sorts of hints at like what was to come with Cassian having point of views. And so that's why I think Moore is next. Who do you think is next before I get into that?
I wouldn't be surprised if more is in there, but I do think that the next book will be more of like this book where we're getting multiple POVs and like the end of Tog and Crescent City, how it's almost whiplash if you're getting a lot of POVs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it might not be like exactly like that in 6. We're getting more POVs, but I think 7 will be the whiplash. Like it's not in a new chapter. It might be the next paragraph you got someone else.
More
Like,
Crescent City style.
yeah. Or like, yeah, the Kingdom of Ash was kind of like that too. Like, I just think that's the future. This one, I would not be surprised if more was in it.
It's smaller. And like I said, I think it's going to be some of her journey. But yeah, it's going to have other point of views, but we're going to get more.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got Emery's.
I think we will. I think we'll get those gals. I hope so.
Like, the next book is so short that I'm just not sure who she's going to try to put in there to make the start of a story, like, because it's this next chapter. I don't know, but like, I think in 7 it's a lot, because that's a fucking mammoth of a book.
Yeah, 7's huge. The next book, I think it is a short one just like this, but I think it'll be more heavy with other point of views, and then it'll open up to the next book to like explain like where she's been and what she's been doing and what else has been happening, because we were so focused on Cassian and Nesta in the next story.
Do you think it's going to end on a cliffhanger?
Yeah, because we're getting the next book so soon.
Yeah, I think so too.
So in Cassian's final chapter, we do get insight to his relationship with Nesta, and then our first Nesta point of view. What do you think that their couple name is? Do we think it's Nastian? Do we think it's Casta? I like Nastian.
I like Nastian too, because it could have double meaning.
Yeah, they are.
They are pretty nasty in that verse in Silver Flame.
I like Cassian's chapter because we get that Nesta isn't just a bitch, but she can't actually feel anything, just anger sometimes. Like, we do get that insight, like, girl doesn't have feelings. That's why she's so mean. Which I will get more into Nesta. I have a lot of thoughts on Nesta and why.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, we're not getting into her a lot. I just want to highlight a couple things. So when Feyre goes to find Nesta and Valaris, she's at the seediest tavern called the Wolf's Den. Only bringing this up because all of our wolf talk, and they got that dog in them. And when she sees her, she thinks of her painting title, which she says it would be A Queen Without a Throne. And isn't that just a bit of fucking foreshadowing?
The way that the wolves continue with Nesta in the next book, it's fucking crazy.
I mean, and like, we have last book, it was Feyre, heavy wolf, like, you're a wolf. We had the Weaver calling her a wolf. Like, what is it? What if Elaine's a little wolf and we don't know it?
The wolves are the watchers of the universe, clearly. They're the protectors, I guess, in some way.
Yeah. And like, even just our talk with Ragnarok and like wolves being such a big deal of that battle.
And with Luna, like, wolves are very important.
So I want to take a couple really big swings. I'm not like married to either of them, but let's just take them. So Rhys is talking to Varian about summer solstice, and he says, I suppose ours is the same as yours. He says, I knew the answer. I'd seen many of them, M dash, long ago. Do you think Rhysy Boy dated someone in the summer court?
At least canoodled.
Yeah. It was like,
Those little sluts.
I know.
They probably want to tick off somebody from every court.
Their fuck it list.
Yes!
That makes sense. Yeah,
yes.
A fuck it list. Yeah, totally into that. Okay, so the next big one, Jurian's kingdom is nothing but dust and a half-forgotten memory. Is it mainly because of the dust? Yes, but it feels Parthos to me. Now, reminder, Parthos is where Jasperoga used to live, and that's where the library of Parthos was. Parthos was a beautiful human city that was destroyed during the First Wars. So Durians was destroyed during the Great War. Is this an alternate reality situation?
What
The
if
dust
Jurian is Jessica's child? Her and
So-
Napoleon's love child.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I want a fucking love child. Not me personally. I want a love child throughout the story. I don't know why I'm begging for it.
I just thought the dust and the half-forgotten memory felt a little Parthosy.
Yeah, that's because he used to hang with Jessica and they made a baby.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for giggling through our journey with us today. We have new episodes every Wednesday. Join us next week as we get into part 1 of A Court of Silver Flame.
I can't wait to talk about that bitch Nesta.
I know.
Nastian.
Nastian.
Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you listen, and then head over to our social media for all of our latest updates, theories, and more new book goofing. All links are in our info, you giggling gal pals. We will see you next week.